Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm sitting here, I'm watching a new thread that they just posted of Russell Westbrook's awesome highlights, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I mean, like real highlights from his career. Uh, and I was watching about 8 minutes of it, and I'm trying to figure out like why we don't get none of what I'm seeing there. It's the same person, but when he does those same actions, they manifest into nothing. As opposed to when he was doing those same actions with OKC, Houston, and Washington, they would be connected at a high clip. I can understand your explosiveness disappearing, athleticism goes away. What I don't understand is how he lost everything else. A lot of the plays that he made there that I was watching on that play, they weren't all dunks. They weren't all above the rim. Some of them were layups, very, very good timed layups. A lot of what he was doing was playing at a speed that's 10 times faster than everybody else, and the defense was often standing still, letting him drive straight past him. So I don't think defenses play the same way as what I was seeing against when he was playing for OKC. It just seems like guys are much faster. They're going to be quicker to react to what it is he's doing. So it wouldn't be as easy for him to run past them like he was able to so many times in the past. But the thing that I don't understand is where did the inability to hit layups come from? I've seen this man hit reverse layups, all different types of layups, driving at the basket, making good decisions, getting the ball to open men, making all kinds of deck moves and all different types of good ball handling plays. I legitimately think this dude probably had a phobia about playing at home. We didn't know it, brought him here, and it all came to life. I really believe that. This place, LA, man, it ain't always a beautiful place for everybody, man. And I'm just speaking out of turn because I don't know what I'm talking about in regards to his experience, but just being from here myself, I know when you're from certain communities and you leave that place for a long time and you got $100 million in the bank and then you come back to that place, you know what I'm saying? Your experience can be very unique when that happens, you know? And I just wonder if Russell Westbrook experienced something when he came back here that messed him up. I legitimately wonder that. Because it's not just his athleticism that disappeared. It's his focus, his confidence, and if I'm being free, his basketball IQ just disappeared on us. His ability to focus. And when I start seeing stuff like that, my mind starts racing. I start thinking about trauma. I start thinking about mental health. I start thinking about vices and different things that people do to try to cope with pain. That's what comes to mind for me. And what I see is a person who is a candidate for all of that speculation. All of it. Because when I watch his highlights, and mind you, this is obviously me having watched good highlights of Russell Westbrook for the first time in a very long time, as you can tell. It's not like I'll be watching his greatest highlights every day. But sitting here watching 8 minutes of that, I don't have a legitimate explanation for why half of what we see takes place. There's none. It ain't a lack of athleticism. No, some of the stuff that he was doing didn't have anything to do with leaping off the floor. Some of the stuff that I saw that was very good was just stuff that he's doing very bad right now and has been doing very bad since he put on our uniform. And I just know how things can be very pressured. I was just watching the Kareem Report just now. Shout out to the Kareem Report. And he asked all the Laker fans to give the Lakers 15 games to get it right. Give them 15 games. He feel like the pressure that we're placing on the team and on everybody could be a bit heavy for everybody. I agree. It doesn't hurt to be a lot more long-sighted than we've been in these 3 games. But it's just because we had such a horrible season last year, we don't really have a whole lot of patience for getting off to a rough start. And in the way that we're doing so, very, very unacceptable after what we just went through. So, you know, I hear him and agree that that's the right way to go. But I don't know that we can keep watching each and every one of these games and then say, well, we ain't in game 15 yet, so let's just keep on being quiet. That's just not how we work. But I definitely agree with him. We do stand to benefit for being a bit more patient. But even with that, it's like I'm looking at Russell Westbrook. This ain't had nothing to do with my team. When I say I'm worried about his career going forward, because I don't know if he could ever recreate the Magic again. You know, I'm legitimately wondering if he'll ever be able to get off the ground as a basketball player. Because what I saw last night, and I said this kind of like let it blurt out of my mouth without really thinking about it, because I was just frustrated. You guys will hear me say this, but I said he needs to just go ahead and retire, like right now. And when I said it and I listened back to what I had made there, the video, and maybe heard it like 3 and 4 times, listened back to it more than once, and I gave it some thought. And as I gave it some thought, came to the same conclusion I came to in the heat of a moment. He needs to retire right now. He would stand to benefit from retiring right now, because what I'm seeing is a guy who can't bring himself to do the things that he needs to do to be a professional basketball player. It's not about him being, at this point, in good enough shape to run, or at this point being able to play 82 games, because I think he can do that. It's just that when I saw what he was doing last night on that basketball floor, he was so far away from what it took to win the basketball game that I did not know if he was somebody that I think should even be on the floor anymore. Truthfully. And the type of jump shot that he took down the stretch of the game when we were up by 1, I mean, to call it bad strategy wouldn't be the right call. I think that's something you do when you don't know how to play basketball. Those are the things that you do when you haven't played the sport and you don't really know what you should be doing, but you know you're being aggressive. And you need somebody to come tell you what situations are necessary in order for you to succeed in the outcome. When they say you need to learn how to win, this is exactly what we're talking about. Situational basketball. Some stuff that you're just not going to inherently understand unless you've either been through it before or someone explained to you. How to handle timeouts, how to handle clock situations. You know, stuff that's just going to come as you watch 1 billion basketball games or play 1 billion basketball games. And of course, he's played 1 billion basketball games. So my thing is, if whatever's going on up here is attacking your ability to be competitive, to display yourself as a good basketball player, to do the things necessary to help the team win, to do the things necessary to assure that everybody is accounted for in terms of what matters and what doesn't on the basketball team, it seems like Russell Westbrook's so deep into whatever he says he's dealing with that none of those things prioritize properly. He would rather give away victories so that he can feel better about what he's doing. And to me, that's a telltale sign that the guy doesn't need to be on a team anymore. He needs to be somewhere working on himself by himself. Because in a team setting, you need to put yourself aside. And if yourself is broken to the point where you can't function in a way that allows you to work with the team, then obviously you're a detriment to the team, and the person who's in charge of the team needs to make the decision to remove you from it. We've long passed that threshold. We've been there for about a week and a half now, maybe longer, with this particular player. And I'm no longer looking at him as it pertains to why things go wrong. I'm looking at the coaching staff, and I'm looking at the owner. I'm not even looking at the GM, because he has to answer to Genie. It's Genie. It's coach. And if y'all two come to the conclusion that Russell Westbrook is going to continue to be the priority, you will suffer the results of what prioritizing Russell Westbrook will be. And it's a lot. Disengaged franchise, disengaged LeBron James, a wasted year of Anthony Davis. It's one thing when Anthony Davis is bad basketball playing Anthony Davis and we can't get nothing out of him and we're struggling and everybody sucks around him and that's it. The conversation then becomes, what can we do with Anthony Davis because he's not giving us what we want. Right now, what I see is Anthony Davis playing the best basketball he's played since the finals of 2020. Since he hit the big shot of game 2 of the finals, or the Western Conference Finals against the Nuggets. I think it's the best I've seen Anthony Davis since that game. So when I look at him and say he's playing well, and then I look at the rest of the team and I don't see us playing well, I just wonder where he's at. Since he's been taking so much negativity from the Lakers, now he's showing up playing well, and the rest of us ain't doing nothing. So it's like, I wonder if he wants to continue to do this. Everybody talks about what Bron wants. Everybody talks about what the Laker fans want. And then we push AD out as if he doesn't matter. Well, when AD starts playing like this, he definitely matters. And when he starts thinking about what it is he wants for his future, we just got to continue to believe and hope that he still wants to be along for the ride himself. While we're willing to discard of him when he ain't playing well, immediately when he starts playing well, suddenly he's a big priority to us. And I think that's kind of what Kareem was alluding to. Since we're so short-sighted, it's like last week we wanted AD gone. This week we can't function without him. It's just, this week Kendrick Nunn can't play worth a damn. Last week Kendrick Nunn was balling. It's just like we're very short-sighted. The team is very inconsistent, and that's a bad combination. So, you just look at all the problems and you just say it comes down to executive decisions. Jeanie's just going to have to understand what is the best thing for the team. And sometimes understanding what's best for everybody is the most difficult part. You got the right intentions, your heart's in the right place. You got the resources to provide, but you don't know exactly where to send those resources to satisfy what needs to be satisfied. You give this to that person and that person's going to be upset. You give all this to these people and that person's left aside. And it comes from leadership not being strong enough to say, I got to give something up. Just like I say about basketball, it's parallel, on the court and off. We got to give something up. If we're going to be a bad three-point shooting team, we can't shoot 50 three-point shots. You know what I mean? You got to give up some of those shots so that you can play to your strengths. It's the same thing when you're talking about putting the team together. You got to give something up. You can't have your cake, eat it too, talk out of both sides of their mouth, play both sides of the table. All those different things don't work, because what you have is an imbalance and ends up destroying everything. You got to make a firm decision to cut something off. If Russell Westbrook is a problem for the rest of the team, then Russell Westbrook needs to be extracted from that team. You know what I mean? You don't let the cancer spread. You cut it off. Okay, this is where we need to cut it off. We know that once we reach this threshold, it destroys everything. You don't even let it get to a point where it's halfway to that point. You cut that off before it even becomes that much of a problem. And I just think Jeanie has made a terrible mistake repeatedly since having control of this team of not doing that right away. And we can always say she has a wonderful heart, she has a beautiful heart, but it comes down to your heart has to also help you find what's the best move for what it is that you're most responsible for. If your heart is constantly having you think of small details within the bigger picture, and you're constantly trying to focus on the smallest, minute part of what the biggest focus is, you're letting the rest of everything else just fall by the wayside while you focus on that one thing. And that one thing doesn't even hold as much consequence as it should, as it pertains to what it is you're prioritizing. If you keep this guy happy, it doesn't even do a whole lot for the overall thing. If anything, it just makes you feel better about how you're treating that person. And that, just like Russell Westbrook's struggles, is eternal. It's internal. Just like we say about having to be a part of the team, you have to take care of yourself in order to effectively be a part of the team. That's the same exact thing as it pertains to Jeanie Buss. Westbrook and Jeanie are in the exact same boat. The exact same boat. Different levels, different sports, same boat, because they have to make a decision that's going to help the team above what it is that makes them feel whole. Sometimes if you're in charge of the team, you may have to do something that takes a piece off of you in order for the team to be complete. You can't be whole and be in control in this case. Because in this case, she's going to have to be the bad guy. To Russell Westbrook, I don't think she wants to do that. In the past case, she had to be the bad guy. To Magic Johnson, she had to be the bad guy. To her brother, she had, these situations happen so often with Jeanie, and it's because she doesn't make quick organizational decisions that ultimately may make her feel less than whole initially. But you're not going to feel whole when people come down on you for not taking care of the overall team, which is your business, responsibility. And then people act all kinds of different ways around you. And see, that's what ends up happening. Just like Russell Westbrook. When you're not taking care of home and you're part of the team, now people around you start behaving a certain way because they're part of the team and they're stressed because the team's not together. So now the players are not acting right. Now the GM can't necessarily make the best moves. Now you've got infighting with your circle of people that you have as advisors because you're not taking a strong stance. So everybody's opinion gets heard and everybody's opinion has a chance of working. So now they're going to be fighting with one another for your approval, as opposed to knowing that even if they suggest something, neither one of them may have it actually happen, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you making firm decisions and you're going to do that. But if the ownership and sways with the tide and is kind of working with things that don't have the betterment of what the team is about, then the people who are around you are going to act a certain way, they're going to behave a certain way, and it's going to be all out of whack because of that. See the parallels? Russell Westbrook, Jeanie Buss, in the same boat. Jeanie has to do what she needs to do to take care of home so that she can be a part of the team and take care of what the team needs, so that the team doesn't see her as someone who's not doing what they're supposed to in their responsibilities. Russell Westbrook needs to do what he needs to do, take care of home, so that he can be a part of winning circumstances within the team. And if we're not of that, then you become a problem for the team and thus a problem for yourself. Now everybody's talking about how you're not doing what you're supposed to do. They're both in the same boat. It's the exact same thing. And they both need to do the same thing, believe it or not, and that's make the tough decision that kind of makes them feel less than whole for the betterment of the team, which ironically boils down to the exact same decision for both of them: sending Russell home. Russ needs to choose to go home. Jeanie Buss needs to choose to send him there. That's what needs to happen for the betterment of the team. I think every single person who's been watching these games and every single person who's been commentating on these games has come to that conclusion in one form or another, whether they support Russell Westbrook or not. If you love Russell Westbrook and think he's the best thing the Lakers got going on, you understand he can't win here, and this environment is toxic for him, and every day he's in this arena, he's getting heckled by people he's supposed to be supported by. If you're a fan of his, you shouldn't want him here. If you hate what he's doing, then obviously you don't want him here. If you're a Laker hater, then you're the only person that should probably want him here, because he's a big detriment to what it is we're trying to do. Other than that, there's no logical explanation for wanting Russell Westbrook on this team. You're just not doing what it takes to better the circumstance for the overall team. If that's the side of things you're on, you're going with what makes Russell and Jeanie whole, as opposed to what makes the Lakers a winnable basketball team. So, that's what it is, man. Sometimes people just gotta if it's too much, let it go. It's like I told Russell Westbrook this, I'll tell Jeanie Buss this, because this is the reality. If it's too much, let it go. If you can't own the team, you can't afford to do what it takes to keep the team up to par. It's a different playing field with Ballmer and all these different whales coming in. I get it. It's not the same game. As to where it took, $4 billion to effectively run a franchise forever. Now it's probably going to take 30 going forward. Very different game. The NBA has priced some of their billionaire owners out of the game by letting Ballmer and such whales in ownership. So now, in order to even up the playing field in the NBA is going to have to let all of the teams be bought up by whales in order to balance out the playing field. Everybody's going to have over $50 billion to effectively keep up with everything that's going on. And when I say $50 billion, I mean that's just basically unlimited funds in order to pay the luxury tax to keep up with everybody else who's paying unlimited funds. If you're not willing to do that, your team's going to suck inherently. You're constantly going to be cutting good players off your team to keep up with what it is that your balance is, as opposed to what it is everybody else is doing. It's just becoming extremely more expensive to own a basketball team. So that's what it ultimately, beyond everything else, boils down to for Jeanie Buss. And in the presence of having to make good decisions, what it means to make good decisions 3 years ago is now something different. Decisions that you made 3 years ago that were decent decisions may not be, because of the presence of certain things changing. So that's why I say, if it's become too much, it's okay to walk away, because at the end of the day, it's not the same game. And there's a few of us fans that really, truly, deeply understand that. We deeply understand it. But, at the same time, that's just the nature of the game. It's a cold situation. Either you can handle it or you can't. It's like an NBA basketball position. If you're on the floor, you better be good enough to play, or you're going home. And the only thing that's keeping Russell Westbrook on the floor is the fact that he was good enough to play at a level that's higher than most for 10 plus years. But this year, he's not as good as the back on the bench player right now. And he's hurting the team even worse because he's less focused than that guy. He thinks he's entitled to certain things even though he's playing up to the level of that guy. And that's what I'm saying. Just because Russell Westbrook is having a tough time handling what's going on does not mean at all that it's Jeanie Buss's responsibility to make him comfortable, because he's not playing well enough to make that make sense at all. That's an emotional decision that's made by somebody that doesn't have the team's best interest at heart, but more so their own. I'm speaking of both of them. So, like Russell Westbrook, I need Jeanie Buss to make a good decision that may make her feel uncomfortable once again. She's done it before, so I know she's strong enough to do it. In fact, this isn't the hardest one at all. You got to look Brody in the eye and thank him for what he's done and let him know that you can no longer use his services and send him home. Do not trade him for pieces on the dollar. Gordon Hayward's contract gives you more problems in the future than you have right now. So you don't get rid of a short-term problem for a long-term problem because a short-term problem is giving you a headache right now. That is not how you do it. What you want to do is send that problem away from the team while you figure out how best to responsibly part ways with that piece. That's the only way to handle Westbrook. Anything less is just more headaches. And I think prioritizing this season is the biggest obstacle. It's the biggest obstacle. Because as long as we're trying to make this bunch into some type of champion, we're always going to be very, very visibly desperate to the rest of the field. And because we're visibly desperate, they're always going to be able to price out everything that we have. Price down, rather, all of our assets. They're not going to give us fair value for it because of the presence of this desperation. So as long as we continue to behave the way that we're behaving, we're just going to make it even more difficult for Rob to get the deals that we need done. But if we can expand it out to say, you know what, we don't care about this year like that, then we can start to get better deals for the stuff that we have. Because it won't be as pressing for you to make it work today. You can get picks, you can get players that need to be developed, etc., stuff like that. Maybe you would take a chance on Patrick Williams or something like that because he's more of a 2-3 year project than, say, a guy that you would pick up that can help you this year. Now, you ain't going to pick up no Patrick Williams because you need to win right now. But if you would expand your goals or what you're trying to do, maybe you would enter the sweepstakes for a guy like that. Just by example. He's struggling, by the way, so I'm not saying go look at him. But just by example, a player with upside. Those are the type of things that I think the Lakers will not do because they need to win a championship right now. And as I always say with the Lakers, you always have to think long term because, yes, you have LeBron James right now. And you need to take care of him right now. But if you really look at who you are, you're the Lakers. There's always right now for you. There's never a year where you're not expected to win the championship that year. So you're going to have these expectations in years that you've punted trying to do this right now. This is kind of what we're dealing with in regards to the 2020 championship right now. The team sucks because of decisions we made to get a championship then. But the expectations to win, still present. And guess what they're going to be when Bron leaves? Just as present. You got to know that that doesn't leave because you're the Lakers. That doesn't leave. So that's why doing short-term stuff for short-term championships was just not a good strategy for the franchise we are. Because there's never going to be a moment where we're not demanded to win the championship. So why wouldn't you keep yourself flexible at all times? Just bad organizational strategies. That's what I'm talking about. And it starts with Jeanie understanding what those good decisions would be and making those as opposed to the stuff that she's mulling over, it appears to me. Is that she's mulling over the stuff that doesn't make the team more lucrative. Focusing on Russell Westbrook's not going to make you more money, Jeanie. It's not. And if we're talking about just business, it's a bit business. That's not going to make you more money. Making you more money is developing the young players around him, getting him out of there, and then taking all the Austin Reeves and Cole Swiders and those guys and doubling their value. That's what's going to make you the money that you're hoping to make from your business. I can't stress that enough. Trying to mortgage your future for short-term championships, that's not where the big bucks are in the NBA. It's not. especially when you're the Lakers and you have a cheat code toward all marketing, all media coverage and all that. You got the cheat code. There's no reason for you to be, behaving that way. That's what I always say. The Lakers behave in ways that are unnecessary, make games hard on themselves. They add controversial pieces to make themselves more exciting. You're living up to something you don't even have to do. You don't have at all to do that. Other teams, by logical standpoints, would need to get those controversial pieces and need to put weird players and fits and stuff like that so they can get attention for their small market team. And you see them doing that? No. It's the team with all the inherited attention naturally doing all the things that would otherwise garner attention that makes trouble for themselves. Bringing Russell Wilson to this team, everybody knew we had non-shooters. All you're doing by bringing that player to this team was creating an opportunity to make things more difficult. Everything we've done in regards to our roster, getting non-players that have any youth to them last year, getting players that could barely shoot the ball this year, the year before that, trading away a bunch of championship pieces for pieces that were less expensive but didn't fit. I mean, it's just like all of the stuff that we do just makes life harder for ourselves. LeBron James is the easiest player in the world to build around. He needs shooters. You get the best shooters in the world around him, good wing defenders who help him, and a nice scoring point guard that can dance on people, and you can win championships from here to Texas. You think we build that way? Never. We try to get him the worst shooting players we could, get him the oldest players we could, get him the weirdest, most archaic fit imaginable, and we put that crap together every single year. And I do believe we put little wacky personalities and all this stuff on the team just to keep ourselves attractive to people who are going to be paying attention to us if it's a bunch of me's running around. And I'm tired of it. We've suffered being a less than team in a lot of situations because of these decisions to be controversial. And I think it starts with Jeannie and her circle. They believe in that. And it's garbage, my friend. It is garbage. When you're entering into a changing league that is changing by the second and you need to continue to stay current and you're making decisions like that for TMZ reasons, you're going to suck. As simple as that. And that's exactly what I see there, and I think it needs to be said. Anyway, that's my Laker talk for the morning, man. That's what I got. I didn't want to get into the game last night. That game irritated my soul. The more I thought about it, the more I talked about it, the less I appreciated what I saw. At the end of the day, LeBron James' statistics are going to tell you he was the greatest player in the world yesterday. He played awesome on the stats, but I'm telling you, he was the catalyst for all things wrong out there. He jacked up long shots. It started the process of everybody else losing focus and ultimately playing poorly. That's exactly how it started. And I'm the only person saying it, I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, he's going to have to play better. He's going to have to believe, and he's going to have to be the one to spearhead the wisdom toward Jeannie, because she's just the money at the end of the day. She needs somebody to help her know what to want. And if he's not communicating with her, he's the only one that actually matters. Everybody else in her round table circles, they don't matter, bro. The Rambai and all those other folks, Magic, they do not matter. I hate to be the guy. I'm just going to be honest. Until she realizes they don't matter, she always going to listen to them, but they don't matter. Because at the end of the day, the stuff that they're suggesting is leading to this. She's listening to them, this is what she gets. Sometimes you just got to change. You got to change what you're doing. You're the only person who needs to be heard from. You and the experts are people that have proven that they can win in this era. Not people who've proven they can win in the 80s. Not people who were standing next to people who won in the 80s. And now they are people that we listen to because we're just good friends with them. No, we're not listening to those people anymore, because they haven't given us the result that we need. We respect and love our friends, but if they can't help us with what it is we're dealing with, all they can do is learn next to us. We can learn together, but you can't be the one telling me what to do. Let's sit here and listen to somebody else. You and I, together. But I ain't taking your advice. That's how we got to play that with our friends. So anyway, that's what I got to say, man. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. I hope I give you good energy somehow, even though I'm frustrated. But, this is what it's about, man. We want to see our team get better. We know where we're making mistakes. And it's emotional decisions that is appearing to be taking precedent over what needs to happen out here. And there's too many other people focused on what's going on who have their interests wrapped up in this for that to be acceptable. No. Russell Westbrook's feelings should not take precedent over the entire Laker nation. Jeannie Buss's want to not be the bad guy should not take precedent over the entire Laker nation. Somebody needs to make an executive decision that's best for the flag. For this. That's all it's about. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.